My husband is forcing me to sign my father's house over to him. He's blackmailing me. But you won't believe how we got to this point. It's absolutely insane. I need your advice. Let me start from the beginning so you can understand how I ended up with a man like this. Imagine dealing with the loss of a parent along with the discovery of a secret that can turn your life upside down. And the one person you expected to comfort you through this chaos is the one who's using this whole thing against you. That would stink, right? And this is exactly why my life stinks a great deal right now. I mean, your partners are supposed to be with you through thick and thin, right? Or as the vows say, through sickness and health. And all those things they told us while promising the great life after marriage, but no one told us what to do when your partner is the one who turns out to be the cruelest of your foes. So much so that you don't even recognize the person you fell in love with. I guess before I start crying about this mess I call my life, an introduction is due. So let me start this off right. My name is Lexi. I'm 28 and I'm here to tell you how my not-so-perfect life took an even darker turn after my father's death just a few weeks ago. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean, losing a parent obviously sucks. It's sort of the worst pain one can go through, right? But I guess my fate was not satisfied with the amount of misery I had caused after my dad's death. The heap of sorrows on me just kept piling on bigger than before. My father was renowned businessman that had been sick for the past few months. And in a way his death was sort of an end to the utmost suffering he's been going through for all those months. It was bad, but after the course that doesn't ease the heartbreak me and my family are going through because of his passing, especially not my mother, Julia. She had been taking care of father all these months, and his death has left a lasting effect on her mental and physical health. After Dad's death, my mom has fallen very critically ill. The doctors say it's the trauma and depression that are worsening her condition, and it can only be healed with time. Right now, the only thing they can provide her with are tranquilizers to calm her down somewhat. And I'm honestly worried about my mom, now more than ever after I just found out something deeply disturbing. But all throughout this misery, there's one person that's been my constant support, comforting me and holding me together when I felt like I was falling apart, my husband Zane. Or at least that's what I thought until his true intentions became clear. So you can imagine how heartbroken I must have been by all this. Well, let me start this from the very beginning so you understand better how I was fooled into marrying this man who was supposedly the love of my life. You see, I met Zane a few months before my dad got sick. It was just one of those random meetups at a party where we bumped into each other and liked each other's company. And soon enough we were dating. He was a simple man, and me being born into all these riches, thanks to my father's business, simplicity was what I valued the most. And now when I think about it, I guess it was the total opposite for him. So we were still dating and going strong when my father fell ill. His condition was critical, and I was worried sick for him. But Zane supported me throughout it all, being my only comfort in the whole thing. The doctor had told us that my father might only have a few months at max, and you can imagine how shattered I was, yet I stayed strong for my mom. But it was all possible because of Zane's emotional support. It was then that Zane proposed to me, and I, overcame by all of the emotions, got married to him. It was a quick affair, and I was happy my dad got to witness my wedding because you never know. Now that I look back at it, it might have been the biggest mistake of my life. My married life was nothing as dreamy as what they made it look like. Zane had left his job as soon as we got married, and he started living off my money. He did not even try to get a job or earn something himself, but I was too occupied with my father's health and his dying business to care about how much my husband was freeloading off me. Yes, my father's business was in a massive loss. But obviously Zane did not know that, since he always thought that my father was pretty rich with a successful business. Even I did not tell him, thinking it would just bother him. But you know, now that I think about it, if he had known about it before, he never would have married me. And it would have been the best thing that ever happened to me. You guys might be wondering what could have been so bad that it's making me question all the months of my married life and the guy I was so deeply in love with. Well, be a little more patient, as I'm just about to get there, guys. So, my father. He passed away a few weeks back, and I was left dealing with his loss, my mother's worsening health, and a whole lot of debt. Yeah, people usually get a lot of expensive things in inheritance, but all I got from my father was a massive debt that he got into after taking all these loans to save the company. Of course, Zane knew nothing about all this, and I didn't want to bother him with all these worries. He was under the impression that I had inherited a lot of riches from my father, which he was wasting mindlessly, while in reality all the luxuries he could afford came out of my hard-earned salary. Just because I earned well, Zane never knew that the money he was using did not belong to my dad. It belonged to me, buddy. Just a few days after my dad's death, he even asked me to move into his dad's mansion, where my mother was living at the time. I was reluctant to move in there, but Zane pushed it, and I agreed, thinking that it would help me take better care of my mom. So while Zane was busy enjoying all this money, I was busy trying to figure out how to deal with my father's debt and my mother's health while keeping myself sane. And to top it all off, just last week I got to know such a disturbing secret that could destroy what was left of my family. You must be thinking, what can be worse than all this, right? Well, guys, brace yourself because it's about to get crazy. So here's what I found out through my father's lawyer and his will. It turns out that the righteous father I looked up to all my life was not as good as he seemed. Basically, my father had an affair, and this was not the worst part of it. Not only did my father lie to our faces and cheat on my mother, but he also had an affair child who lived in another town and who my father was paying for all this time. If you think it could not get any worse, then just wait, because the only time my father thought to tell me about this was through his will and a letter asking me to take care of this child for him. Like, guys, can you believe it? I can't even curse him and not be overcome with the urge to cry every time I think about him or what he did, because no matter what he did while he was still alive, he was my father, and I still miss his presence being around. I guess that's why they say the crimes of dead people are easily forgiven. But that was not something that I could just easily forgive and forget. This was a crazy truth that changed my whole perspective of my father. And then I thought of my poor mom, who was so devout to her husband and was by his side till the end. My father had told me how guilty he was in his letter, but that changed nothing. It would break my mother if she ever got to know about this, but this was something so big that it was eating me alive. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. After knowing this crazy truth, and my husband noticed it. For days, I was troubled and desperate for some comfort that I ended up telling him the truth about my father's secret. I thought he was my partner, and no matter how bad things were between us lately with his crazy obsession with money, I trusted him to be there for me. Oh, how I wish I never trusted Zane. In the end, not only did he break that trust, but shattered my spirit completely, using the whole secret against me. Here's what happened. So, after I told Zane about the affair child and my worries that if Mom was ever to find out, she'd not be able to take it, he comforted me by telling me it's going to be all right. And with him by my side, I finally felt a peace after a few days of going through this torment that the truth brought with it. I was glad that my husband supported me, you know. I really was. But the next day, everything went to hell in a handbasket, and I could not recognize the man standing in front of me when he asked me to sign my dad's house to him. Yes, 2 days ago, Zane asked me to put my dad's house in his name, or else he would tell Mom of Dad's secret. As I mentioned, my mother is pretty ill, you know, and this secret might just worsen her condition, so you can see how the man I love so much was using my biggest weakness at the moment against me so well. I know it's hard to believe, because even I could not believe it for a few minutes, just staring at Zane, asking if this was some sort of sick joke. But Zane just laughed at me with no remorse on his face. Me, being the foolish girl in love, asked him what the hell was wrong with him, as if he was never like this before. I told him that I thought he loved me. I did. But Zane, he just kept on laughing and laughing. By this time, it was also followed by a series of insults after insults, and it was getting bad, telling me absolutely how stupid I was to trust somebody so easily. In the next few lines, Zane said nothing, besides something that broke my heart completely. He told me that he would be foolish to fall in love with someone like me. Could you believe it? And only married me for the sake of my money, and my father had the inheritance I'd get once he was dead. And now he could just enjoy all that and more. I couldn't believe the lines leaving his mouth. I couldn't believe that this was the same guy who spent endless nights with me staying awake at the hospital to look after my sick, dying father. But I guess they're right when they say love is blind. Because obviously I was blinded by love to see the true face of this guy who was so evil that he would resort to blackmailing me, using my mother's health to just get a mansion. I just couldn't think straight, and I left the house for the night telling him I needed some time to think. And now this is what my life and stupid decision have brought me to. It's bad, it's really bad. Zane's been calling me nonstop for an answer, and I mean it, saying the more time I waste, the sooner he is to telling my mom. But I can't let that happen, right? Who knows how this news would affect my mother, or if she'll even be able to take it or not. But does that mean that I simply give my father's house away to this man who surely can't be my husband anymore? I don't know what to do. I'm honestly too torn to think. I have to do something sooner, or Zane might just tell my mom about it, and all this pondering will be pointless. So guys, here I am, exhausted and out of ideas, and I'm turning to you guys for help. Please tell me what to do, or I might just lose my mind. Updates number 1. Hey guys, it's me, so I'm here for an update. Are you ready for this one? It's Lexi. After a few days of updating, what actually happened after my initial post left a lot of you curious about my decision. Spoiler alert, a lot of you might be disappointed in me, so proceed at your own risk. As you might have understood by now, after spending sleepless nights thinking about what to do next, I ended up agreeing to hand over the house to Zane. Yes, I know it sounds absolutely crazy, and a lot of you told me, do not give in to that man's demands no matter what. But I had to. I had to. It was a matter of priority for me. It was a question of whether the house was more important to me or my mom's health. Obviously, without a second doubt, I had to choose my mom. I couldn't let Zane go to her and tell her the truth about my father's secret. Come on, that would obviously break her. And now finally being able to see Zane's real face, I know he's not bluffing, and he would stoop to any level to get what he really wants. This whole motive for getting married to me for my father's money, it proved how there's no low that Zane wouldn't stoop to for his selfish purpose. I guess the joke's on him, because all I got from my father was a truckload of debt, and the responsibility of a half-brother somewhere in another town. But he doesn't even know this, right? That fool has no clue about the debt. All the debt I have to pay and how his plan to marry me for my father's money actually failed because my father left me nothing, the idiot. Well, I'm going to use this to my advantage. Okay, so I might have agreed to give the house to Zane, but here's the catch that I also got to know only recently. So legally, the house should be mine or my mother's since we're the only family my father had, right? Well, that's not the case. In a way, the house is mine only if I can claim it. Claim it back. I know, you guys are confused. So let me simplify it for you just a bit. So before dying, my father was trying his best to save his dying business. And as I mentioned before, in an attempt to save the business, he took multiple loans, including a loan using the house as collateral. Yes, you understood it right. The house is being used as collateral for a loan that has yet to be paid off. Can you guess by whom? Yes, by yours truly. Like the rest of his debt, the responsibility to pay off the debt on this house has to be borne by me. And this is the reason why I can't transfer the house to Zane, even though the house belongs to me in the eyes of the law, since I'm my father's legal heir, and the one expected to pay off the loan and get the house back. Obviously, Zane knows none of this, and neither did I until I checked the house papers after the whole conversation with Zaney Boy. But telling Zane the truth now is not an option anymore, since he would just go crazy and go and tell the truth to my mom. So I've come up with an idea, and I've already set it into motion. I've already told Zane that I would give him the house, and I needed a few days to complete the legalities, and he could not have been happier. He told me to take all the time I needed and that my secret was safe with him as long as he got the house. But then I found this whole mess out, and now here's no choice for me but to get a little crafty. With the help of my lawyer friend, I prepared some fake documents, of course, that looked convincing enough to make Zane believe that the house was transferred into his name. I spent hours making sure that it looked as real as possible, while I tried to figure out what to do about this whole loan thing. I've reached out to financial advisors, legal experts to find out how I might be able to renegotiate or deal with the massive loan my father left. It's a stressful and confusing process, but I'm doing everything I can to find a solution. There's only one thing I'm worried about now. I'm going to get Zane to fake sign the documents tomorrow, and I'm pretty freaked out about what'll happen if he finds out the truth. Anyways, I'll let you guys know. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's Lexi again. It's been a few days since my last update, and let's just say things have taken another wild turn. If you thought the last update was crazy, then buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get even more insane. I'm honestly at a loss for words with how quickly everything has spiraled out of control. So as you know, I went ahead with the plan to give Zane the fake documents, making him believe that the house was officially his. I was terrified, thinking whether he would buy it or not, but Zane, the idiot, bought the lie without a second thought, hook, line, and sinker. He didn't even glance at the documents too closely, just a quick look, and his eyes lit up like he just won the lottery. I was honestly relieved, thinking maybe this nightmare was finally over. But of course, life is not that kind. Not even 2 days later, Zane showed his true colors in the most brutal way possible. One morning, I was getting ready for work when I found Zane standing in the living room with the smuggest look on his face. For a moment, I couldn't recognize the man I married or thought I loved. And then, without a hint of hesitation, he tells me to pack my crap and get out. He didn't stop there. He demanded I take my mother with me. I was shocked, speechless even, and I asked him what the hell's going on. But he just laughed at my face and told me the house is his now, and he didn't want me or my sick mother around. I couldn't believe it. After everything, after all the lies and betrayal, he's kicking us out? And then, as if to make things worse, Zane told me I needed to leave as soon as possible because somebody else was moving in. I was shocked. Too shocked to even ask who it was that he was talking about, yet I did. And his answer, well, when he casually mentioned his girlfriend, shocked the wits out of me. Yeah, girlfriend, that's right. Zane had been cheating on me this whole time, and now he was planning to move his mistress into my father's house. I honestly didn't know what more levels of cruelty this guy could cross. I mean, after months of living off my money, while he was possibly out there cheating on me, and even after forcing me to give him my father's house, he wanted to even stoop lower and bring his mistress here. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach, and I couldn't stop blaming myself for everything that went wrong. I mean, I was obviously too blind to see it, too focused on keeping my family together to notice how he had been sneaking behind my back. That's it. That was the moment I realized I need to teach this a-hole a lesson. I left the house that day, taking my mom with me to a small apartment I rented nearby. But as I packed my bags, I made a decision. I wasn't going to tell Zane about the loan on the house. I mean, why should I? The house wasn't even his, legally, and he didn't deserve it anyways, and if he thought he could just walk all over me and my family, he had another thing coming, buddy. I mean, I was throwing my hands around trying to figure out how to repay the loan and save my father's house, but now it all seemed worthless and looked like the perfect revenge plan. You see, Zane is living this fantasy life right now, thinking he won. He's probably celebrating with his dumb mistress right now. But what he doesn't know is that the house he's so smug about doesn't even belong to him. It's still under the loan. So now I'm just sitting back waiting, biding my time, and Zane has no idea what's coming for him. I'm not even lifting a finger to stop it. He wants a house, right? Well, he can have it, and the consequences that come with it. Update number 3. Hey guys, it's me. Yes, I'm back for what is another update. Well, get this. It's been more than a month since my last update, and things have escalated in ways I never could have imagined. So where do I even begin? After my last update, I decided to take a step back and let fate take its course. I wasn't going to lift a finger to help Zane out of this mess he created. A few weeks passed, and I tried my best to focus on my own life and take care of my mom. We were setting into a small apartment, and though it was nothing like the mansion, it was peaceful. No more tension, no more walking on eggshells around Zane. Initially, my mother was confused about why we had to move out, but I just told her that I found out that Zane was cheating on me and I'll be divorcing him. My mother was hurt for me, but told me I made the right decision, and she would be supporting me throughout it all. Obviously, I was relieved, and it all felt like a fresh start, or at least that's what I was hoping for. But then, just when I thought I could finally breathe easy, I get a call from Zane. I haven't heard from him in a few weeks, and honestly, I didn't mind and wasn't even expecting to. I answered, and right away I could hear the panic in his voice. He was asking me what's going on and why he had just received an eviction notice from the bank. Apparently, the bank was preparing to seize the house and put it up for auction since the loan had not been paid off. He was furious, accusing me of hiding things from him and demanding that I do something to stop it. But all I could do was laugh. I mean, what did he expect? That I would come running back to him and save him after everything that he put me through? Yeah, right. I told him that this was his problem now and that I wanted nothing to do with it. Zane's anger quickly turned into desperation. He starts to beg. I could hear the fear in his voice as he realized the house he's been so proud of was slipping through his grasp. But I wasn't about to give in. I simply told him that this was the bed he made and now he has to go to sleep. Then I hung up and blocked his number, finally for once feeling like I was the one in control. But of course, Zane was not giving up easily. A few days later, he found another way to get to me. I received an anonymous message on social media, and the second I opened it, I knew it was from him. He was threatening me again, saying that if I did not help him stop the eviction, he would tell my mom everything about my father's secret. He said that he had nothing left to lose and was ready to destroy everything if I did not help him. I wish I could say that I brushed off his threats, but the truth is I was terrified. The thoughts of my mom finding out about my dad's affair and his illegitimate child still haunts me. She's been through so much already, and I can't bear the thought of her health deteriorating even further because of something I failed to prevent. But at the same time, I'm so tired of living like this and constantly worrying about what might happen if the truth comes out. So here I am, once again turning to all of you for advice. Part of me wonders if it's time to finally tell my mother the truth myself. Zane's threats are becoming too much to handle, and I don't want to be bound by this secret any longer. Update number 4. This is the final update of the story. Hey guys, it's me. It's been a few weeks, and I guess this will be my final update. A lot of you guys were curious to know what happened next and whether I ended up telling my mom or not. I'm so sorry it took this long to write an update, but I've been busy processing the whole roller coaster of things. After my last update, I spent a lot of time thinking. I realized that the only way to truly free myself from Zane's hold was to take control of the situation and end whatever leverage he had on me. The thought of him using that information to manipulate and hurt me further was unbearable. So I made the difficult decision to tell my mother myself. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. I actually sat down with her. I did. And after what felt like hours of trying to find the right words, I just spit it out. I told her everything, and oh man, do I mean everything. I told her about the affair, I told her about the lies, and I even told her about the fact that Zane had planned to use it against me. She seemed clearly hurt, but surprisingly, she wasn't as shocked as I expected her to be. I was prepared for the worst, for her to be devastated and to blame me for keeping this secret, but instead, she just looked at me and sighed. She told me that she had suspected for a long time that my father had been unfaithful. She never had any proof, but there were signs that she could not ignore. And all this just broke my heart further. Knowing that she had carried that suspicion with her for so long just to keep our family together, and she was even there with my father till his last breath, I can't imagine how much that must have hurt her. I was relieved because I knew I was taking a huge risk, but my mother's reaction put up my heart at ease. Meanwhile, something even crazier happened. As days passed and I refused to talk to Zane, he actually showed up at our apartment. I don't even know where he got the address, but he was there, and in his arrogance, he shot me one last look and told my mom about the secret. The fool didn't even know that he had nothing on me now. He was expecting my mom to shout at me or something, but my mother just slapped him for whatever he did to me and told him to get the hell out of here before she calls the law. After everything, this moment felt like a small victory. Within the next few days, Zane was thrown out of my father's house and the house was auctioned off. I was sad about it a bit, about letting my father's house go, but with the massive debt and loan and no particular way to pay it off, I knew I had to let it go, and my mom backed my belief. As for Zane, without my money and with no job, he ended up in a shelter, even with his mistress, who I'm sure was only in it for what she could get. She left him, and I could feel nothing but a sense of satisfaction knowing that Zane got what he deserved. Well, it's just me and Mom now. We've started to heal together, and for the first time in a long time, I'd say, I feel a sense of peace. We've both been through so much, and if anything, it might have made us stronger. Thank you for listening.